Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a book that, on the surface, feels like a classic summer romance, but when you really get into it, it's more like this detailed psychological profile of regret and
Yeah,
attachment.
absolutely. We're talking about Carley Fortune's 2022 novel, Every Summer After.
And for this deep dive, we're taking a bit of a unique approach. We're going to treat this really personal narrative as if it's a meticulous fact file.
That's a case study.
Exactly, a case study of a relationship that spans decades and is defined by, well, by geography, by ambition, and ultimately by this single, absolutely heartbreaking betrayal.
That's right. Our mission today is to really analyze the history between Persephone Fraser, or Percy, and Sam Florek. We're going to trace what she calls this invisible, unbreakable string that connected them.
And we'll look at the weight of their choices and, how the geography of it all, this one specific place anchored their entire relationship. A place that Sam, ironically, was desperate to escape.
It all comes back to the lake.
It always does. So let's start where the book starts, with Percy, age 30. And on the surface, she is the very picture of success.
Oh, completely. She is a senior editor at Shelter magazine.
A big deal. She's the one who basically dragged the publication into the digital age. They even celebrated it at their big 40th anniversary party.
And she lives in this striking apartment in Roncesvalles in Toronto.
Okay, and right there, that's our first clue. Roncesvalles. It's a historically Polish neighborhood.
And that is not an accident. There's no way that's a throwaway detail.
No, it feels like this subconscious attempt on her part to replicate the only place she ever truly felt safe.
The only place she felt home. Because, as we're going to see, her greatest source of unconditional love, that maternal comfort, came from Sue Florek's homemade pierogies.
A quintessential Polish dish.
Exactly. So Percy might have physically run away from Barry's Bay, from the lake, but she subconsciously tried to recreate the cultural comfort of the home next door, right there in Toronto.
That is such a powerful connection. And it really highlights the fact that despite the stylish apartment and the career, her life is it's all structured to avoid one thing.
Stillness.
Stillness, quiet, introspection. Her calendar is described as overstuffed, and it's a shield.
It's a relentless schedule. Late nights at work, these punishing spin classes, and what she calls, very clinically, no-strings sex.
Right.
I mean, this is the ultimate coping mechanism, isn't it? She explicitly uses this formula of work, physical exhaustion, and sex that ensures she doesn't get attached and doesn't go deep.
All to manage the loneliness.
And to just quiet that constant, painful voice of introspection. She's been perfecting this system since her early 20s. Her career success is almost just a very glossy symptom of her avoidance.
But you can tell the facade is cracking. The text even notes that, despite climbing the corporate ladder, she questions if it really made her happy.
She admits she sometimes longs to leave the city to just go somewhere and right near the water.
The loneliness isn't just a mood for her. It's a state of being that she is constantly, actively running from.
And then the phone rings. And that carefully constructed dam she's built for over a decade is just obliterated.
It's late at night, an unknown number, and the voice on the other end is Carley Fortune, Sam's older brother.
And the critical detail here, the thing that just jolts her, is that he uses her childhood name.
Percy.
Percy. It's a name she hasn't heard spoken out loud since the last time she saw Sam 12 years ago. It's like a key unlocking a door she sealed shut.
And the news he delivers is just catastrophic. Sue Florek, their mother, has died from cancer. She was only 52.
Well, yeah.
And Percy's reaction is immediate. It's visceral. She has her first panic attack in ages.
Then she drinks a bottle and a half of rosé until she passes out on the bathroom tiles.
That image, the successful, put-together editor just lying on the cold tile floor, it captures her entire emotional freefall perfectly.
And that panic attack, that whole breakdown, it's rooted in this one specific realization she has with her therapist, Jennifer Never Jen. It's the moment she realizes she has now been without Sam for more years than they were ever together at the lake.
Wow. The time apart has officially eclipsed the time together.
Yeah. And it feels like the past is now officially receding, like it's becoming smaller in the rearview mirror, and that's terrifying for her.
So Charlie's request that she come to the funeral, it forces her to drive right back into the epicenter of her past.
So our mission today is to follow her on that drive. We need to understand the function of that geographic anchor, Barry's Bay, and uncover all these pivotal secrets.
And figure out the nature of that invisible, unbreakable string she always felt ran between them.
What does it take for two people to stay so deeply connected? even through a decade of absolute total silence.
She describes that spring as a physical ache, you know, a twisting or tightening in her chest, especially when she's anxious or nostalgic about him.
Like a phantom limb.
Exactly. It signifies this fundamental part of her emotional infrastructure that she tried and failed to completely remove. It's a wound that just never fully healed.
And to understand the depth of that wound, we have to go back. Back to the summer the string was first woven.
Okay, let's do it. Let's turn the clock back 17 years. We're shifting from the gleaming towers of Toronto to the much more modest reality of Barry's Bay.
Right, where Percy's parents buy this small A-frame cabin. It's their classic Torontonian escape.
And they were very deliberate about where they bought it. This wasn't Muskoka.
No, definitely not. They chose Barry's Bay, described as a sleepy, working-class village, which is a good 4 hours northeast of the city. They wanted to give their awkward 13-year-old daughter an escape from social pressure.
And specifically from other kids.
Which leads to the supreme irony of the entire setup.
The whole point was isolation, but they end up landing right next door to the only year-round residents her age in the area, the Florek brothers.
And what a study in contrast that household was. First you have Charlie, the older brother.
He's instantly likable, charismatic, cute, dimpled, often shirtless. He's just classic easy charm.
And then there's Sam. And the first description we get of him is gangly.
Right. Intelligent, much more introverted. His eyes are described as being like sea glass, which hints at this depth that Charlie just doesn't have.
But Sam's most defining characteristic, even at 13, was his intense, almost fearful ambition.
Absolutely. He wasn't just dreaming, he was already planning. He wanted to be a cardiologist. He was already learning random medical facts because he had this deep underlying fear of being stuck here forever.
And we find out later that this isn't just teenage angst. His father had died young just a year before. So for Sam, stuck was synonymous with dying too soon.
It makes so much sense. So the friendship that develops between him and Percy, it's really rooted in mutual need.
It is. Percy was a total social outcast. She was traumatized by this Delilah Mason incident at her school in Toronto.
Some deep public shame that left her with self-cut bangs and, like, zero confidence.
And Sam, who needed company away from his older brother's whole social scene, was pretty much the only option available.
And they just clicked immediately over a shared love of horror.
R.L. Stine, Christopher Pike, and that creature from the Black Lagoon poster she hung over her bed.
And this is so crucial. Percy loved horror because it made impossible situations feel believable. It was a safe way for her to explore darkness and danger, which is something she was desperately trying to avoid in her real life.
And that bond, it very quickly needed a physical token, a symbol of their trust.
Your friendship bracelet.
A friendship bracelet. Percy was great at weaving them, and she'd usually customize the colors to fit the person. But Sam makes this really specific, really profound request.
He doesn't want colors customized to him.
No, he wants one just like yours.
I mean, even then, that's huge.
It's everything. Her colors. Neon orange, pink, peach, white, and gray. They were sophisticated. They mirrored her complex personality. And by wanting the exact same one, he's saying he wants to be part of her world, not have her just visit his.
And that bracelet becomes their mutual contract. It's their sacred tool for swearing on things.
Yeah, like when Percy is worried about her freckles. And Sam makes her swear to drop the weird freckle obsession. If he swears on the bracelet, that he genuinely likes them.
It establishes the bracelet as the one source of absolute unbreakable truth between them, a truth she later breaks.
And the other piece of this emotional landscape is the maternal anchor, Sue Florek.
She shows up almost immediately with homemade cheese and potato pierogies. There's that connection back to Roncesvalles we talked about.
Sue is described as young, small, soft, with Charlie's dimpled smile. She's just immediate warmth and stability.
And those pierogies aren't just food. They're a symbol of unconditional love. Sue tells Percy's parents she'll keep an eye on the kids.
And Sam later reveals that after his father died, Sue had actually stopped making pierogies for a while. So Percy's arrival seems to have brought a piece of normalcy and comfort back into their fractured home.
It says so much that Percy, the daughter of these well-off, educated Toronto professionals, found her core sense of home not in her own family's cabin.
But next door, anchored by Sue's presence and her cooking, it was this immediate, unconditional acceptance, especially for a girl with so many social anxieties. It really set the stage for everything that followed.
Okay, so we've established the sacred, almost foundational nature of that first summer. But as they grow, moving into ages 15, 16, and 17, we see those inevitable teenage pressures start to pull at the seams.
And it's primarily fueled by Sam's terrifying focus on escaping his origin.
The development of both of them during these years is almost painful to watch because they're growing in parallel but also apart.
Right. Sam's health focus and his intellectual drive just accelerate. He designs a beginner's 5K running program for Percy, which he then turns into a 12K round-trip run for himself.
He's always pushing further, and he's constantly showing his intelligence through these random facts, like explaining that melanin overproduction causes freckles.
Always the objective, scientific observer, even as his feelings for Percy are clearly deepening.
And at the same time, Percy is also transforming. She's shedding that awkward girl image. She accomplishes this massive physical feat swimming all the way across Kamanaskeg Lake.
1,500 meters. It's a huge deal, and her father is immensely proud, but the emotional validation she's really looking for comes, again, from Sue.
Yes. Her dad's pride is technical, right? It's about the athletic success. But Sue's compliment is personal. It's familial.
She says, "I'm as proud as if you were my own daughter."
And that statement means everything. It confirms that sense of belonging she was craving. The Florek house wasn't just the house next door anymore. It was home.
And that's also the summer her creative identity really cements itself. Her English teacher recognizes her natural talent for creative writing.
And Sam's role shifts. He goes from being her running partner to her personal editor, helping her polish her horror story, Youngblood.
And their working relationship on that story just perfectly captures their whole dynamic. Sam, the science guy, critiques it for its unrealistic scientific details.
And Percy dedicates a signed copy to him for always knowing just the right amount of blood. It's this perfect acknowledgement that even their intellectual pursuits are intertwined.
They balance each other, objective reality and subjective creativity.
But the tension is starting to boil over, especially the summer she turns 17. The relationship is still technically platonic, but the physical awareness is just... it's everywhere.
Sam's hands on her hips, while they're stretching, the heat of his presence.
And the peak of that unacknowledged tension happens during a game of truth or dare.
Oh, the dare. They dare Sam to kiss Percy.
And he flatly refuses. He says he would only kiss her if she were the last girl in the galaxy.
Which, to a teenage girl's mind, is a monumental rejection. It screams, "I don't see you that way."
Even if the subtext, which she can't see, is more like, I feel way too much for this to be some silly dare.
But she doesn't hear that part. That last girl in the galaxy line, it plants these deep, corrosive seeds of insecurity in her.
Am I not good enough? Am I not the priority? And that insecurity is immediately reinforced as their academic paths really start to diverge.
And Sam's ambition becomes a real barrier. He gets a full academic scholarship to Queen's University for pre-med.
His focus is just a laser beam, driven by that terror of dying young, and anything that doesn't advance his escape plan is now a distraction.
And this is where the precursor to the final collapse begins. Sam keeps a secret from her.
He enrolls in a 3-day writer's workshop in Kingston and doesn't tell her.
That secrecy is so telling. He kept a secret about writing, which is her love, the thing they shared. It shows he's already prioritizing his new path over transparency with her.
It's him trying to build a new identity. When he finally explains himself, he says he was trying to build something for myself.
He was crafting an adult identity separate from the lake, and he viewed anything that connected him too deeply to his past, including writing, including long, emotional emails, as a potential anchor holding him back.
So his short, unsatisfying emails aren't indifference. They're emotional withdrawal rooted in fear.
But Percy can't see that. She just sees the distance and the lack of communication, and she internalizes it as pure rejection.
And that perceived rejection pushes her straight towards Charlie.
Charlie, who encourages her to move on. He undermines Sam, saying Sam's an idiot who just believes everything is meant to work out between you two in the end.
And then he blurts out, "Whenever you get sick of my brother, let me know, Perzer." He puts the offer on the table.
And that, paired with Sam's distance, just sets the whole catastrophe in motion. Sam sends this long, very functional email.
Proposing a temporary break so they can focus on school. It's so cold.
Devastated, feeling completely abandoned, Percy sleeps with Charlie that same night.
At the drive-in, right near the Florek house. It's this rash, retaliatory act.
It's driven by grief and perceived betrayal. But it's also important to remember Charlie, while manipulative, did offer the physical presence and comfort that Sam had just withdrawn.
And then the true moment of failure. Sam calls. He's apologetic, he says he loves her, he wants a future, he's realized his mistake.
But Percy is now burdened by what she did with Charlie, and she's terrified to confess. She believes if she tells him, it'll just confirm that he'll leave her for his bigger world at Queen's anyway.
So she decides to initiate the final harsh breakup herself.
The words she uses are meant to destroy everything, to ensure there is no turning back. And here it is, the core, unforgivable act that leads to 12 years of silence.
She seals the lie.
She seals the lie by swearing on their sacred friendship bracelet that she needs a break.
She weaponized their most foundational symbol. She used the object that represented absolute, unbreakable trust to validate the complete failure of that trust.
The text says the words tasted like dial, but she forces them out. It's not just a teenage mistake, it's a fundamental corruption of their relationship's core values.
It is the moment their entire shared history is tainted. That lie, enforced by that vow, is why the silence lasted for 12 years and not just one semester.
She didn't just betray him physically, she destroyed the spiritual contract they had built together.
Okay, so fast forward 12 years, and we find Percy back in her meticulously curated, lonely adult life. The coping mechanisms are in full swing.
Professional hyperfocus, avoiding quiet introspection at all costs, and relying on that no-strings sex.
And her friendships, for the most part, mirror this superficiality. But there is one genuine thread. Chantal.
Right, the entertainment editor she met when they were interns. Chantal is the only one who knows the basic outline of the Sam story, this fundamental piece of Percy's history that she keeps locked away.
Chantal is the one who saw the depth of Percy's crisis, who insisted she see a therapist, Jennifer.
Never Jen.
Never Jen.
Yeah.
After that Thanksgiving breakdown, which was triggered by that awful realization that the years apart now outweighed the years they'd spent together.
That was her breaking point. The moment the silence became statistically heavier than the connection.
So while Percy was building this fortress in Toronto, what was Sam doing?
Well, he achieved his goal. He became a cardiologist. But here is the great paradox of his ambition. He's living back in Barry's Bay.
Which is a massive contradiction. The boy who was so desperate to escape is now back, driving his mother's red pickup truck, working at the local hospital.
Why? He moved home for the last year of Sue's life to help her through her 2-year battle with cancer.
So the very thing that drove him away, the fear of a short life, of losing his parent, is the thing that brought him back.
Exactly. He realized time and people are finite. His professional success meant absolutely nothing if he took his mother for granted. He traded the path of ambition for the path of connection.
So when Percy finally sees adult Sam, it's this collision. His achieved ambition and geographic acceptance versus her achieved success and her emotional stagnation.
She finds him in the tavern kitchen, and even from the back, she knows him. He's built like a swimmer, broad shoulders, washing dishes.
And when he turns around, she is just stunned. He is so devastating, I could cry.
The physical attraction is there, but the emotional recognition is stronger. She describes it as a fist squeezing around my lungs. She had memorized every part of him.
That deep familiarity is just, it's untouched by 12 years of silence.
After some really awkward tension, Sam breaks the ice with a joke, and he just erupts in this magnificent laughter. But then he drops an emotional bombshell.
He confesses that he collected all the horror movies they used to love. Carrie, Psycho, The Exorcist, when he was in Kingston.
But he couldn't bring himself to watch any of them without her.
And that just dislodges this tiny sliver of hope she had kept buried for 12 years.
Wow.
It confirms the silence wasn't about indifference, it was shared pain.
She felt the same way about her writing. He felt the same way about their horror movies.
But that moment of vulnerability is instantly crushed.
By the unexpected obstacle. Taylor.
His girlfriend of 2.5 years.
And Taylor is everything adult Percy feels she is not. She's a successful lawyer from Kingston. She's got that fair floret coloring, but not the warmth. They're the perfect power couple.
A lawyer and doctor combo that Percy drunkenly jokes should be illegal.
And Taylor is defined by intentional minimalism. White BMW, white loafers, a neat bun. She represents this life of calculated perfection.
Which just highlights Percy's current state. A wrinkled dress, maybe a little sweaty, an ice cream stain on her chest. Taylor makes every single one of Percy's insecurities flare up.
And the humiliation leads to this drunken, clumsy exit. But here's the pivotal reversal, the thing that shows how much Sam has changed.
He breaks up with Taylor immediately after dropping Percy off at her motel.
He tells Kayla he was following the path of least resistance with her. And this is such a crucial insight into his adult life. He was seeking stability after the chaos Percy caused.
And Taylor offered minimal friction.
Minimal friction. But standing there in Percy's volatile, messy presence, he realized stability wasn't what he truly wanted. He was wasting time in a relationship that lacked the essential intensity he only had with Percy.
The funeral then becomes the next major emotional crucible. Sam's eulogy is beautiful, it's gently teasing. He focuses on Sue's love of watching others eat her pierogies.
He honors her without just sinking the whole room into despair. It's perfectly pitched.
But the wake is where Percy completely collapses. She has a severe panic attack and retreats to the kitchen, where she overhears Sam and Julian, the chef, talking.
And she catches these snippets like, Sam, it took years, remember? They were talking about how badly she had broken him.
Which confirms her deepest fear that the pain she caused was permanent, and she just collapses.
Charlie finds her, but it's Sam who comes and squats down and uses these slow, deliberate counting breaths to guide her back from the anxiety.
It's such a profound moment. The cardiologist, the boy who studied medicine, is using his clinical knowledge and his deep, lifelong familiarity with her emotional state to physically and psychologically save her.
And that night, after the wake, in Sam's old bedroom, which is basically a shrine to their past,
The pewter frame photo is there, the autographed copy of her story.
Percy finally confesses. She tells him she slept with Charlie.
And Sam's reaction is immediate and just. Devastatingly cruel.
How was it?
A question he instantly regrets, but it exposes the profound, agonizing hurt that has been festering inside him for 12 years. That one venomous question is the release of a decade of pain. So now we finally get to the heart of it. After that initial shock, that regrettable cruelty, the real conversation can finally begin.
And this is where Percy realizes the full, catastrophic damage of her teenage rejection. It wasn't what she thought at all.
Sam reveals that Charlie had actually told him about the hookup years ago.
Right. Charlie had hoped the information would explain why Percy was so harsh in her breakup, but it didn't. It just added another layer of confusion and pain for Sam.
Because he believed he was the one who had been rejected. He thought his ambition, his focus on school, he thought he wasn't enough for her.
And this misunderstanding led directly to his self-destructive phase in university. He admits to having a tough time, just excessive partying and drinking.
And then he tells her about his rock-bottom moment, a humiliating drunken pass at Delilah Mason.
The very girl who was the source of Percy's original social trauma. And Delilah rejected him immediately.
Sam recalls that he thinks he puked all over myself like 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's just so bleak.
And that incident was his wake-up call. It was confirmation in his mind that he wasn't just rejected by Percy, but that he was fundamentally unworthy of love or attachment.
So he stopped sleeping around. He just buried himself in his studies, eating, class, studying. He isolated himself emotionally for a decade.
This changes everything for Percy. She finally gets it. Sam never hated her. He was just heartbroken and confused.
He internalized all that shame from her, from Delilah, and believed he deserved to be alone.
And then comes the true revelation. Sam admits he knew about the Charlie hookup the entire time she was back in Barry's Bay.
He knew. Before their first conversation in the kitchen, before the vulnerable moment in the truck, before they slept together in his old bed, he knew the whole time.
And that is the definitive proof of his commitment. He ended his serious, comfortable relationship with Taylor.
The woman who represented the path of least resistance.
Because of Percy. He chose friction over ease. He chose chaos over calm. Because only Percy brought him that true foundational passion.
Sam then affirms his love, but it's a much more mature love now. He says he no longer takes time or people for granted.
A profound shift, driven by losing both of his parents. He realized the risk of high-intensity love is worth it, because life is just too short to seek comfort over meaning.
And Percy finally admits she never stopped loving him. She lets the phrase, "I love you," stick to her ribs like molasses.
Which is such a beautiful metaphor, connecting that emotional permanence back to Sue's comforting, foundational food.
So their renewed relationship isn't easy. The source is very clear about that. It requires work. There's yelling, flinging accusations, digging up old hurts.
But it's all grounded in their deep established friendship. They are best friends first. They laugh, they tease, they root for each other. They've survived their individual failures and their mutual disaster.
And we get these moments of final closure that wrap up the community aspect of the story. Charlie apologizes to Percy for his actions that summer. He's relieved and supportive.
He sells the tavern to Julian Chen, the long-suffering chef, at a family discount.
And the final beautiful act of closure involves the Florek brothers taking the boat out onto Keg Lake to spread Sue's ashes.
The geography that had once represented Sam's confinement and Percy's escape now becomes this shared space of mourning, memory, and acceptance.
Having finally addressed all the self-hatred and fear that drove her away, Percy returns to her creative roots.
She commits to writing stories again. The very thing she longed for when she was just Googling synonyms for minimalist in her Toronto cubicle. She's reclaiming her authentic self.
And her final symbolic action brings the entire narrative full circle. She plans to propose to Sam that night in the basement after removing.
She's not waiting for him. She's taking ownership of their future.
And the engagement ring is it's so significant. It's not a diamond, which would symbolize that Toronto's success she was chasing.
No. It's going to be made from twisted threads of embroidery floss, kept in the small wooden box with her initials carved on top.
The very floss she used to weave their first friendship bracelets.
This isn't just sentimental. It is a total repudiation of her lie. She is using the material of their original sacred contract to forge a new commitment.
It acknowledges that the foundation of their romantic future rests not on wealth or success, but on the sacred trust they built, corrupted, and ultimately rebuilt together.
And to contextualize this huge emotional story, it helps to look at the author's intent. Carley Fortune wrote this novel while renting a cottage right outside Barry's Bay in 2020.
So she was really in the space, and as a journalist and editor herself, she was trying to create an escape for herself and her readers during the pandemic.
And she was very clear she wanted a happy ending, but one that was hard-earned. The focus was on these flawed protagonists who actively screw up but eventually try their best to do better.
She does note that Sue, the maternal anchor, is pretty sure Sue is perfection, which really reinforces the role of that steady, unwavering figure in the middle of all the chaos.
And the narrative structure itself, alternating between now and summer chapters, is a tool to emphasize the weight of the past. It forces you, the reader, along with Percy, to constantly see how every teenage insecurity and every lie directly shaped the next 12 years of misery.
And the lake, Keg Lake, is the constant, unforgiving mirror. It's the fixed point in their geographic heart, always waiting. It's the backdrop for their triumphs. Percy's swim, the Purages, and their greatest vulnerability, right up to spreading Sue's ashes.
The lake is where they were born, and it's where they were reborn, together.
So when we synthesize all the knowledge from this deep dive, I think the most critical insight is differentiating the initial act of betrayal from the resulting corruption of trust.
Right. The physical act with Charlie was painful, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But Sam could have and probably would have overcome that.
The true foundational failure was Percy's decision to weaponize their sacred symbol, the bracelet, to enforce a lie and initiate that final, complete break.
She swore on their symbol of absolute truth that she was ending things because she needed a break, when the reality was fear and guilt. She didn't just break up with him, she broke the very foundation of their entire history.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the learner.
If the symbol of their bond, the friendship bracelet, a representation of shared history and trust, was used to validate a lie, thereby corrupting the very concept of that shared trust. What foundational elements must exist beyond shared history and passion for a relationship to survive total failure and successfully rebuild genuine, lasting trust?
Is it Sam's unconditional forgiveness, his ability to accept the worst part of her past? Or is it Percy's final commitment to stop running from her true self and her love of writing so she can finally offer Sam the whole, honest version of herself? The core of their recovery seems to lie in accepting that the initial foundation was flawed, and only a commitment to radical transparency, symbolized by that new floss ring, could hold the new structure up. Something to consider as you reflect on the complicated geography of your own heart.